trying something a little different here today. I want to be able to show you my desktop and record this. And this is the third time I've recorded this video because I keep screwing it up one way or the other. All right. And I've recorded this whole video 3 times now. This is my dedication to you all. I hope you appreciate it. This is going to be kind of interesting. And I should mention this video is probably going to only be of interest to those people who are super embouchure nerds or into the teachings of Jerome KET, whether it's the trumpet yoga, super chops, TCE, super chops, whatever. This is a video for you guys. If you're not into any of those things, you might skip this week and catch me next week on Trumpet Thoughts Thursday. But a viewer recently sent me a bunch of scans of when he was taking lessons with Jerome Callet. And these are all drawings that Callet did while he was taking lessons about Callet's thoughts on the trumpet embouchure. And I wanted to share those with you today, kind of go over them. And I'll show you which one of these most aligns with what I'm doing. Not to say that's what you should be doing, but it's what I'm doing. And I want to give you a couple thoughts before we do this. So number one, Jerry kind of had this East Coast used car salesman vibe about him. He was a very giving guy, very generous, all that kind of stuff. But he just was, he's just always selling and overselling, frankly. I think he was not a great salesperson because I felt like he was selling in a way that was very, very obvious that he was trying to shove this down your throat. But because of that, it just made like whatever he was doing at that moment, this was the best thing ever. And he would, you should get rid of whatever he sold you before and do this. And that didn't matter if he was literally trying to sell you something like take money from you, or if it was just a concept. He just wanted to give you this new idea. And I think he genuinely believed whatever he was doing was the best he had done. There was a little bit of madness involved in it. I'll give you that. And you'll see as we go through the oh my gosh, this is so many changes and so many back and forth changes and little minute changes. But the man was always tinkering and trying to figure out how the trumpet embouchure worked and how to do it most efficiently. And so here's my advice to you that I think you'll find helpful. One is you'll notice as we go through these scans, there's essentially kind of 2 types of embouchure shown here. There's one where the bottom lip or the lips are coming through the teeth and engaging with the tongue, and they're doing that all kind of inside the mouth. And then there's other embouchures where all that's happening in front of the teeth. In my mind, that's the clear distinction between these 2 things, because they all basically involve the bottom lip, the top lip, and the tongue. And that's one of the things that he's nearly all of them involve that. And it's one of the things that he was very I think that's his big discovery. But where he oscillated and kind of vacillated back and forth is, should this happen in front of the teeth or behind the teeth? And in my experience, I have found that behind the teeth becomes most natural for me, but in front of the teeth is where, when I'm able to do it, is when I notice the biggest gain and improvement. And I don't know that that's universal, but knowing both is helpful as I try to navigate this journey and figure out what works best for me. So if I was to group these, right now I'm going to go through these drawings in just alphabetical order, not chronological order. But if I was to actually group them for myself, I'd probably group them in here's the ones that are behind the teeth and here's the ones that are in front of the teeth, if that makes sense. Okay? So, all right. So let's run through these here real quick. So this is from June of 2005. And one other piece of advice is that if you want to read any of these things or study them more, just pause the video and you can read it in more detail that way, okay? Because I'm not going to stop, and I won't read all the slides to you because that's really, really dull. What I will do is explain what you're looking at here. So this is the face. This is the cross-section of the face kind of looking this way. So this is the nose. This is your top lip, bottom lip. Not really easy to see here, but these are supposed to be your top teeth. This is your bottom teeth, your jaw. This is the tongue. This would be the space between the bottom teeth and the tongue, kind of down there, right down there. This is your oral cavity. This is going back down into your throat and the esophagus and stuff. In this diagram, the air is coming up through here, coming over the top of the tongue, and then basically the air is always coming over the top of the tongue and intersecting and then hitting the top lip at some point, and that's where vibration's coming. So in this particular embouchure, the bottom lip and basically the teeth are rolled in under. He basically almost never has things like pointing at each other, which I agree with. In general, there's only really one drawing where things are like pointed. Most of the time, they're kind of beveled over, and it's those surfaces that are meeting. And the reason why, you can think about like trying to do this, the isometric tension of doing this versus doing this. Like you just have larger surface area, more contact, creates more of that kind of firmness and the resistance to play higher notes. And pretty much in all these embouchures, the resistance is created by the tongue curled over and engaging with both of the lips, top and bottom lip. And like, so this is the tongue, and engaging with the lips, and like that kind of pushed forward compression of the muscles there. Having a hard time. There we go. Is what's making that work. So this is June of 2005. We'll dive into the madness here. Now it's June 30th of 2005, and a completely different embouchure. This one, though, is one that has been taught, that a lot of people have had good luck with this one. Tongue's coming through the teeth, kind of pushing down on the bottom lip, slightly pushing forward the top lip. Air comes through here. The center channel of the tongue drops slightly. The air then goes through the teeth, vibrates the top lip. This is very similar to how I play. Not the one that I say I'm most aligned with. I'll point that out when we get there, but it's very similar to how I play. Now the next one, we're back to now the lips are back inside the mouth. And again, pause these if you want to read them more closely. But you've got the top lip here and the teeth. Bottom lip is folded over and coming in, but it's kind of rolled over as the tongue is. And we've got this fun little heart-shaped thing here. Bottom teeth there. Air is coming over this way. The air is coming over the tongue, over the bottom lip. And then the top lip's vibrating against the whatever this part of your lip is called. That's not even your lip. Below your lip. Because the lip is kind of pulled in like that. Now we're in November of 2005. And this one, he's curled the tongue over so that the tip is resting on the bottom teeth, and that's kind of acting like a spring to hold the teeth open, and the air is coming over the top of the tongue through the teeth, vibrating the lip. This is the most common type of thing he does. Air over the top of the tongue, vibrating the top lip. This is 11 of 2005. Then the end of September of 2005, this one looks really complicated, but this is pretty close to what I do. It's still not the one I would say it's mine, but it's close. But when you, upon first viewing, you're like, what the hell is that? Like, how can anyone play that way? What's happening here is the air comes up. The tongue is kind of like arched and angling down. It's pushing down on the bottom lip, which is, the bottom lip kind of ends up resting on top of the teeth. The top lip is kind of being also pushed forward slightly with the tongue. That's close to how I play. I generally try to keep my bottom lip over my teeth, but again, now we're back into it again with it being inside the mouth here. And again, if you find having your bottom lip inside your mouth helps, then group all these together, pause it, read the instructions, see if there's something that helps you. February of 2006, tongue's back over. This time, though, the tongue, we're starting to get into some of these drawings here. To me, these are, you must have like a long tongue. Something is different in your physiology that makes this work. But in this case, the tongue is going over your teeth, and it has to be long enough where it can curl down, and the tip of the tongue can rest against the bottom of your, or the front of your bottom teeth. I can't do that. That doesn't work for me. But I've heard of people that this works for, but it's not me. Now we're starting to get into the stuff that he called super chops. And there's one coming up here, which I think is like the beginning super chops embouchure, which is the one that me and Rich Colhoun, I think, kind of advocate people try in the very beginning to kind of get this idea of the tongue over the teeth. It's not this one, though, coming up. But this one, the tongue is pushing the teeth. This is one I can't do either. And I don't think this one lasted very long. But this one has the bottom lip resting against the top teeth. That's basically impossible. What I can do, and I do sometimes do, is where the sides of my bottom lip can come up. But I have to keep this down, and I think this is universal truth. This bottom lip can't be above your teeth aperture or there's no way to vibrate it. Unless you had like huge front teeth and a big old honking gap, you've got to have air coming through the teeth aperture over the top of the tongue, hitting the top lip to get things to vibrate. So to me, I don't see how this one works. A similar thing with this one. This one you have to have a comically large bottom lip that can fold all the way over, and short bottom teeth where it then folds all the way over and rests underneath, like in this gully here at the bottom of your mouth. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. All right, this is what I think is like the beginning Super Chops embouchure. And I don't say beginning meaning that like one couldn't play amazingly this way. I just think this is like one of the simplest ones. If you're trying to like figure this whole stupid thing out of how do I get my tongue over my teeth and play, this makes no sense to me. This, to me, is the most logical place to start. This is kind of how I started working, where like the light bulb goes, go, and like clicks on. And this one, tongue comes over your teeth, kind of on top of the bottom lip. Top lip comes down on it, and it just feels like it's basically going straight over. This is the easiest one, I think, to begin with. It's not how I normally play, but it was the easiest one to be able to start like getting an understanding of this. So I really do like this embouchure here. So this is just a permutation of something we've seen before. All right, now we're getting into how I feel like I play. July of 2006, he called this the trilabial embouchure. He obviously liked this one quite a bit because he gave it a name, pulled in some of the drawings from the Super Chops era. All of this is, he's taken the time to kind of write out what it is. This is more similar to what I do. The tongue is over, like bent over, and sometimes the tongue is behind my teeth, sometimes it's in front of my teeth. That's something that is, there's times I can get the tongue over my teeth, and I feel like when I can do that, things are more open, except for the sound is really bright and forward, which sometimes is great, sometimes is not. If I need the sound to darken up a little bit, then I bring them behind my teeth. So if I'm playing in like wind ensemble and stuff like that, this is very similar to what I'm doing. Pause if you want to study it. And by the way, just because I'm doing it doesn't mean you should be doing it. I'm just sharing it. And this is if I'm trying to create more compression. This is kind of what ends up happening as I'm bringing my lips against the tongue. They're kind of like coming together here. And this looks like a forked tongue. It's not that. It's the tongue tip is down here. It's just that the pressure is going up towards the forward and towards the top of the teeth. And as I ascend, that's what I feel like happens. And again, this is 3 pages of this embouchure, basically, with modifications as he goes along. But this was something he really kind of felt like he was onto something here, which again, this is what works for me. In this case, the tongue tip comes behind the teeth, and the tongue tip's rolling forward. It's still that same idea. As he ascends, the tongue is pushing forward against the lips, moving forward towards the teeth and the lips. That's the latest I have from August of 2006. If you have more of these, I'd love to see them, whether it's before this or after this. I do have like the Trumpet Yoga book and the Super Chops book and the TCE book. But if you have some of these hand-drawn things like this, I'd love it if you send them to me. You can scan them and email them to me. My email is Donovan, Donovan, at erniewilliamson.com. But I just find this really interesting. Again, don't worry about the fact that like this is the latest one that I have. This doesn't mean this one's the best. This is just where he was. He was making these things up until the day he died, I think. So he was just constantly tinkering with it and adjusting things based on how his chops felt in that day. So try some of these though and see if there's if one of these variations clicks with you and works. If that's the case, try to find the other variations that are similar to it and kind of group those together and then experiment and just see if any of these things makes your playing better. I hope it does. Let me know what you think.